At the core of transformational leadership is the concept that the follower and the leader experience transformation themselves. In his 1978 book entitled Leadership, James McGregor Burns penned those very words. In the same school of thought, Barge and others suggest that a transformational leader has the ability to do three things: change, impact, and discard the status quo. Hello, everybody. My name is Princess Dyer Godfrey, and this is my briefing on Walt Disney's movie entitled Remember the Titans. What another phenomenal movie that we have a chance to view through our leadership class. This is my 4th level in leadership academy, and this is probably my last briefing, but I want to say how I enjoy this class. And as I do 3 things today, I'd like to at the end thank those who made this experience a great one. So in my briefing, I'd like to tell you 3 things. I'd like to talk about the more dominant leadership style that I saw here in this movie. Secondly, I'd like to share with you the kind of leadership style I'd like to emulate. And finally, I'd like to talk about the Kelly followership typology. So in the beginning of my briefing, I defined the transformational leadership style, which was the most dominant leadership style in this movie. Denzel Washington, of course, did a fabulous job in portraying a true life character. I love movies like this where it tells a real life story. And so Coach Boone was a high school football coach who moved from North Carolina and now to Alexander, Virginia, where racial tension was high and racial division was obvious. Protest was in the streets. And now in the schools where integration was taking place, that same tension was being felt on the football field. And so Coach Boone, in the initial stage, in the genesis of meeting the head coach at the time, I love the control that he presented and as a leader at that time, when in the face of insult and in the face of sarcasm, when they were speaking to him, he could have responded in a very negative form, but when they insinuated to him that he has come from a lower level of football convention to now a 3A or a AAA football experience in Virginia, his response to them was, well, what an opportunity it is for him to learn from the very best. And I think that response for him gave him an open door to the coach at the time, Yost, so that it can start building relationship, because that was what he was all about. And that's what a transformational leader does: build a bridge between the leader and the follower so that there can be some consensus, there can be some connectivity, some commonality, and for a common goal. And so we see that same style being portrayed throughout the whole movie. There are some very profound and dominant, defining moments in the movie that I'd like to talk about. First one was when they were on their way to Gettysburg for their training, and they were doing what was normal to them, was sitting in the buses, but in a very segregated way. Coach Boone saw that, and in the moment, he separated them, got them all off the bus, and what he did at that time was brought running back with running back and quarterback with quarterback. He had them sitting together. In fact, those who sat together were also rooming together. And what he was doing at that time was breaking grounds for what was not the norm. and creating, allowing them to create relationships, even though it didn't go well in the beginning. Eventually, they you at the end of the movie, you'll see how they gained relationship. They left separated and segregated to camp, but when they came back, they were different people. That was one defining moment. The second defining moment was when they were on the training ground and was training one night, and Julius and Jerry, who were the captain and they were both leaders at the time, started to connect with each other when they were shouting, left side, strong side, left side, strong side. In that moment, no one had to narrate and tell those who were standing around and looking on what was going on. No one had to tell them that this was a moment where synergy was taking place, where connectivity was obvious. Both the coach and the players at that time were able to understand what was happening. That was a great defining moment. There were other defining moments, but I won't be able to go into that because of time. So I'd like to go on to my second point. My second point, which is what leadership style I'd like to emulate. And obviously, I would definitely like to emulate the transformational leadership style because I believe it brings good results. It brings commonality, builds bridge between followers and leaders. I believe leaders can learn from followers as well as followers can learn from leaders. And I that's the kind of leadership style I'd like to definitely emulate. And finally, as it relates to Kelly followership typology, the scene I'd like to project, or the person, in this case the team, is who I'd like to talk about, because I believe that they portrayed what is called the conformist follower, because they were able to conform from what they were to who they became. From boys to men, they became great players. They were segregated in the beginning, but they came together in the end, and they went to the championship. Even those that were around them, the township, saw a great difference in who they are. I definitely enjoyed this presentation. I hope you did too. I was able to tell you about the dominant leadership style that was portrayed in this movie. I told you the kind of leadership style I'd like to portray. And I also shared with you, as it relates to Kelly's followership typology, the person or the team I point out and the style that they portrayed. This is my last class and my last briefing in my minor in leadership, and I'd like to thank Dr. Christopher Shannon, Dr. John Klein, phenomenal leaders, and of course Dr. Hawkins, who are transformational leaders themselves, who have poured into us throughout these 4 different levels of leadership. And I'm pretty sure that what I've learned in these classes, I'll be able to take on with me in life, and be able to pour into others as they have poured into me and the other students in this class. Thank you so much, and I know that others will benefit from this class as well. I definitely will maintain every lesson that was learned, and always remember what Troy have invested in me. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned something from this briefing, as I have myself. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.